These women are confirmed dead.
August 19th, 2024. Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Federal police raid a luxury beachfront resort called Paradise Bay. What they find shocks even seasoned investigators. Hidden rooms behind false walls. Medical equipment. Restraints. DNA evidence from at least 12 different women. Financial records showing millions of dollars in illegal transactions. And in the resort manager's office, photographs. Dozens of photographs of young women, tourists, travelers, guests, who'd stayed at Paradise Bay over the past 7 years. 8 of those women are confirmed dead. 4 are still missing. The rest escaped and never reported what happened because they were too traumatized, too ashamed, or too scared. One woman's testimony brings it all crashing down. A Canadian woman named Lauren Mitchell who came to Cancun for what she thought was a romantic destination wedding with her Mexican fiancé. Instead, she uncovered a human trafficking operation hiding behind infinity pools and 5-star reviews.
Welcome to Secret Witness, the channel where we uncover crime, betrayal, and the darkest secrets people try to hide.
Every day we bring you gripping true crime-inspired stories that will shock you, haunt you, and make you question what really happens behind closed doors. So before we dive into today's chilling story, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell icon, so you'll never miss a single twist. And the man she was supposed to marry? He wasn't a resort owner. He was the architect of it all. How well do you know the person you're planning to marry? Have you met their family? Seen where they work? Visited their hometown? Or have you only known them through vacation romance, filtered photos, and promises of a perfect life? Because sometimes the person you think you love is wearing a mask. And behind that mask is something so dark, so evil that once you see it, you can never unsee it. Before we get into this nightmare, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. And if you've ever met someone while on vacation and thought about moving to be with them, drop palm tree, because what you're about to hear might save your life. Lauren Mitchell was 28 years old, living in Toronto, Canada. She worked as a marketing coordinator for a tech startup. Good job. Nice apartment. Stable life. But she was lonely. She'd been through a rough breakup 6 months earlier and needed a reset. So in January 2024, she booked a solo vacation to Cancun, Mexico. 1 week. All-inclusive resort. Time to heal and figure out what she wanted. She arrived at Cancun International Airport on January 14, 2024. The warmth hit her immediately, a welcome change from Toronto's brutal winter. She took a shuttle to her resort, checked in, and decided this week would be about relaxation and self-discovery. That lasted exactly 2 days. On her 3rd day, Lauren was at the resort's beach bar when she met him. Diego Morales. 34 years old. Devastatingly handsome. Warm smile. Perfect English with a charming Mexican accent. He introduced himself as the owner of a boutique resort in Playa del Carmen, about an hour south of Cancun. They started talking. Diego was attentive, funny, interesting. He asked about her life in Canada, her work, her travels. He told her about growing up in Mexico, building his resort business, his dreams of expanding. By the end of the night, they'd exchanged numbers. The next day, Diego invited her to dinner at a restaurant off the resort. Then a beach picnic. Then a day trip to Tulum. Lauren knew she shouldn't fall this fast. She'd only known him for days. But Diego made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. He was romantic without being overwhelming. Respectful. Genuine. Or so she thought. By the end of her vacation, Lauren was in love. Diego told her he felt the same way. He invited her to come back. To stay at his resort in Playa del Carmen. To see if what they had was real. Lauren returned to Toronto on January 21st. But her mind stayed in Mexico. For the next 5 months, Lauren and Diego maintained a long-distance relationship. They FaceTimed daily. Diego sent flowers to her office. Lauren flew back to Mexico twice, once in March, once in May. Each visit, Diego was the perfect boyfriend. He introduced her to his staff at Paradise Bay Resort, showed her the luxury property he claimed to own, took her on romantic dates. Everything seemed legitimate. The resort was real, stunning beachfront property, high-end amenities, excellent reviews online. Diego seemed successful, stable, respectful. Lauren's friends were skeptical. You barely know him, they said. Long distance with someone you met on vacation? That's a red flag. But Lauren was convinced. Diego wasn't like her ex. He was mature, established, and he made her happy. In June 2024, Diego proposed. On a private beach at sunset. With a ring he said had belonged to his grandmother. Lauren said yes. Diego suggested Lauren move to Mexico. They could plan the wedding together. She could work remotely, her company allowed it. They could start their life. Lauren was hesitant. It was a big move, but she was in love. And Diego was convincing. She arrived in Playa del Carmen on July 10, 2024, with 2 suitcases and a remote work visa. Diego picked her up from the airport, brought her to Paradise Bay Resort, and showed her the suite that would be their home. It was beautiful. Ocean view. Private balcony. Luxury furnishings. Lauren felt like she was living a dream. For the first 2 weeks, everything was perfect. She worked during the day from the resort's business center. Diego managed the property. They had dinner together every evening. Talked about wedding plans. Discussed their future. But then small things started feeling off. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and tell us if you're still here with us. Diego was protective. Too protective. He didn't want Lauren leaving the resort alone. Said the area could be dangerous for tourists who didn't know their way around. He introduced her to staff, but the interactions felt strange. The staff were polite to Lauren but seemed nervous around Diego, like they were afraid of him. Lauren noticed Diego had a lot of late-night meetings. He'd leave their suite at midnight, saying he had to deal with resort business. Sometimes he wouldn't return until 3 or 4 a.m. When Lauren asked what kind of business required midnight meetings, Diego said it was just the nature of hospitality. Guests had issues at all hours. It made sense, but something about his tone felt wrong. Then there were the locked doors. Certain areas of the resort were off-limits. Staff-only sections. Diego said it was for safety and privacy reasons. But when Lauren accidentally tried a door in the basement hallway, Diego got angry. Really angry. That's private, he snapped. Don't go down there again. Lauren apologized, confused by his reaction. Diego quickly softened, apologized for snapping, said he was just stressed about finances. But Lauren's instincts were starting to whisper, something isn't right. August 12, 2024. Diego had been gone since 11 p.m. the night before. Lauren woke up at 2 a.m. and he still wasn't back. She tried calling him. No answer. She texted. No response. Lauren decided to walk through the resort to find him. Maybe he was dealing with a guest issue. Maybe he was in the office. She walked through empty hallways. The resort was quiet, only about 30 guests during low season. She reached the main office. Empty. Then she heard voices. Coming from below. The basement. Lauren knew Diego had told her not to go down there. But it was 2 a.m. and her fiancé was missing. She had a right to look for him. She found the basement door unlocked. Walked down a narrow staircase. The voices got louder. Male voices. Speaking Spanish. Urgent tones. Lauren reached the bottom of the stairs and saw a long hallway with several doors. Light coming from under one of them. She moved closer. Through a gap in the door she saw Diego. And 3 other men. Standing around a table covered in documents, plastic bags filled with something white and stacks of cash. Lauren's heart stopped. She pulled out her phone and started recording. The video captured everything. Diego and the men discussing shipment routes, payment schedules, and pickup times. One man asked about the girls arriving Thursday and whether the buyer confirmed. Diego responded in Spanish, "Yes, everything's arranged. Same as always. We'll process them here for 2 days, then transport." Another man laughed and said something crude about one of the girls. Diego added, "And make sure the American girl upstairs doesn't see anything. She's useful for now. Keeps the resort looking legitimate. But if she asks questions, we'll handle it." Lauren almost dropped her phone. The American girl upstairs. That was her. She backed away from the door as quietly as possible. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold her phone. She walked back upstairs, her mind racing. Diego wasn't a resort owner. He was a criminal. And she was engaged to him. Living with him. Trapped in his property. Lauren returned to their suite and pretended to be asleep when Diego finally came back at 4 a.m. Her mind was screaming, but she forced herself to stay calm. Before we continue, kindly hit that subscribe button and like this video. You've made it this far. It shows you getting awareness, and thank you for staying with us. Let's proceed. The next morning, August 13th, Lauren acted normal. She smiled, made coffee, asked about his night. Diego said it was just boring resort business. Kissed her. Said he loved her. Lauren said she loved him too. And started planning her escape. She couldn't just run. Diego was clearly dangerous. Connected. If she tried to leave and he caught her, she didn't know what he'd do. She needed evidence. She needed help. And she needed a way out that didn't get her killed. Over the next 4 days, Lauren secretly gathered evidence. She recorded conversations when Diego didn't know. She photographed locked doors and restricted areas. She befriended a housekeeper named Rosa who seemed sympathetic and asked careful questions about the resort's history. Rosa eventually whispered, "You should leave, señorita. This place, it's not what you think." Lauren asked what she meant. Rosa looked terrified and said, "Girls come here. They don't always leave." That confirmed Lauren's worst fears. This wasn't just drug trafficking. This was human trafficking. And the luxury resort was the front. Lauren also discovered that Paradise Bay had existed for 7 years under Diego's management. She found old guest registries hidden in a storage closet. Pages and pages of names. And next to some names, handwritten notes in Spanish. Lauren used Google Translate. Delivered. Processed. No family. She felt sick. How many women had been trafficked through this resort? How many had been killed? Lauren knew she had to leave. She gathered enough evidence. She backed up everything to a cloud account Diego couldn't access. On August 18th, she told Diego she wasn't feeling well. She'd stay in the room all day. He seemed concerned but accepted it. Around 9 p.m., Diego left for another late meeting. Lauren waited 30 minutes to be sure he was gone. Then she grabbed her passport, phone, the engagement ring, evidence, and a small bag. She left everything else. She walked out of the resort through a service entrance Rosa had told her about. She ran. Barefoot on the beach, then through streets she didn't know until she found a taxi. In broken Spanish she said, "Policia. Canadian Embassy. Please." The driver saw her terror and drove fast. Lauren reached the Canadian consulate in Playa del Carmen at 11:30 p.m. Security let her in immediately when she said she had evidence of human trafficking. By midnight, she was speaking to Mexican federal authorities. By 2 a.m. she'd shown them everything, the videos, the photos, the translated notes. By dawn on August 19th, Mexican federal police were preparing a raid on Paradise Bay Resort. At 6 a.m., federal police surrounded Paradise Bay. They arrested Diego Morales and 12 staff members. They seized computers, financial records, and the contents of the basement rooms. What they found was horrifying. Hidden rooms contained medical equipment for performing illegal surgeries, primarily organ harvesting, restraints on beds, sedatives, evidence that women had been held there against their will. Financial records showed Paradise Bay was a front for a massive trafficking operation. Women were lured to the resort through fake job postings, romance scams, or simply kidnapped from nearby areas. They were held, exploited, and sold. Some were trafficked to other locations. Others were killed when they were no longer useful. Their bodies were disposed of in remote areas or the ocean. Investigators found DNA evidence linking the resort to 12 missing women from various countries: USA, Canada, Germany, Colombia, Venezuela, and more. 8 bodies were eventually recovered. 4 women remain missing, presumed dead. Diego Morales wasn't working alone. He was part of a cartel-backed operation that had been running for over a decade. Paradise Bay was one of several properties used for trafficking. Diego managed the Playa del Carmen location because he was charismatic, spoke perfect English, and could attract foreign women without raising suspicion. His role was to maintain the resort's legitimate appearance while facilitating the trafficking operation in the hidden areas below. The romantic fiancé persona? He'd used it multiple times. Lauren wasn't the first woman he'd seduced to provide cover. She was just the first one who discovered the truth and survived to tell it. Lauren spent 2 weeks in protective custody, giving testimony to Mexican and Canadian authorities. Her evidence was crucial: the videos, the photos, her first-hand account. She testified about Rosa, the housekeeper, who was also a victim. Rosa had been trafficked years ago and forced to work at the resort under threat of death. Her testimony corroborated everything Lauren said. Between Lauren's evidence and Rosa's testimony, prosecutors built a case that resulted in 47 arrests across Mexico connected to the trafficking network. But Diego Morales escaped. During the chaos of the raid, Diego managed to slip away. Investigators believe he had an exit plan, a tunnel system under the resort leading to the beach where a boat was waiting. By the time authorities realized he was gone, Diego had disappeared into Mexico's criminal underground. Interpol issued a red notice. Diego Morales is wanted for human trafficking, murder, kidnapping, and organized crime. But he's vanished. Probably living under a new identity. Possibly running another operation somewhere else. Lauren lives with the knowledge that the man she almost married is still out there. Still hunting. Still destroying lives. Lauren Mitchell is one of the lucky ones. She trusted her instincts. She gathered evidence. She escaped. But 8 other women didn't. Their families are still grieving. Still waiting for justice that may never come. Critical warnings for travelers. If you're traveling to tourist destinations, research accommodations thoroughly beyond just online reviews. Be wary of vacation romances that move too quickly. Never isolate yourself completely. Stay in contact with family/friends. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore red flags just because someone is charming. Keep copies of important documents in multiple locations. Know where your country's embassy/consulate is located. Red flags Lauren missed initially. Diego's reluctance to let her explore alone. Staff seeming afraid of him. Locked areas she wasn't allowed to access. Late-night business meetings with no clear explanation. His anger when she asked questions. Isolation from other guests and locals. 4 vacation romances. Don't move to another country for someone you've known less than a year. Meet their family and friends in normal settings. See how they interact with service workers and staff. Research their business/work independently. Have an exit plan if things go wrong. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Tourist destinations are prime hunting grounds because tourists are vulnerable and isolated. Language barriers make reporting difficult. Victims often don't realize they're in danger until it's too late. Traffickers use legitimate businesses as fronts. Corruption protects criminal operations. Luxury doesn't equal safety. Evil hides behind 5-star reviews and infinity pools. Drop warning if this case made you more cautious about vacation romances. Drop folded hands if you're sharing this to warn someone planning to travel. Drop broken heart if you've ever ignored red flags in a relationship. Share this video. Someone planning a destination romance needs this warning. Someone considering moving abroad for love needs to see this. Lauren survived because she paid attention. 8 other women didn't get that chance. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week we expose predators, warn travelers, and tell stories that could save your life. This has been Secret Witness, True Crime Stories, where we shine light on the darkness hiding behind paradise. Stay safe. Trust your instincts. And remember, if someone tries to isolate you, control you, or keep you from asking questions, they're not your soulmate. They're your captor. Diego Morales is still out there. Still charming. Still dangerous. Still hunting his next victim. Don't let it be you.